Hello there, I'm Greg Sanders. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're just going to write about some weird writing practices. So it turns out, just so we're on the same page, Mac, I don't ever write the same way. I don't really have a system. I'm really spontaneous. I dive straight in. I'm head first, ladies. Just that's just it. I dive straight in head first. You know what I'm saying? 89 Instrument of Destruction was written completely differently to how I'm writing the tower now, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. You know, it's merely finding it. It's finding it. Now I say all of that, and I always, I will say, and I've talked about this with 89 before, and I've talked about it with the tower before. Both stories are based on are like really old notes and manuscripts and just random ideas. Okay, like I had journals but like I wasn't keeping normal journals when I was a kid. Like my journals were filled with drawings and here's an idea, and here's a word I just made up, and here's this word, and maybe this is what this word means. And here's an entire alphabet I made up, and that's it. I have dozens and dozens of notebooks and journals that are filled with this. Worked on them in school, any free time. I mean, like that was what I was doing, and so it's difficult to say like those are drafts and like I'm taking, like, oh hey, I'm refining these drafts or whatever. It's not like that professional. I'm going through this stuff and I'm organizing it, right? And so I have like a chunk of content, right? Like just a massive chunk of material. Material is a better word than content. Content's a dirty word. And I like dirty words, don't get me wrong. But I have stacks of material where, here's sci-fi, and I put it over there. I've taken, and again, like, because this is honestly how it's been going. I'll have a notebook, and you can tear out pages. And I'll have a notebook, and it will be pages and pages of different stuff. And I'll tear out all the pages, and as I'm tearing them out, I'll go, this is sci-fi, this is real, quote unquote, this is fantasy, sci-fi, and just keep going. And that's it. And it just keeps going, right? And I divided it up that way. And then I take it and I got my binder, got 3-hole punch, whatever, and I organize it. Like, okay, here's all these ideas from my brain. That's all related to science fiction. And here's all the ideas in my brain related to fantasy. And here's all the ideas related to things that would be real world. And maybe it fits science fiction, maybe it fits fantasy, but either way, it's set in the real world. And usually a lot of ideas I had like that are older. A lot of notes and stuff I have for like set in the real world is 70s, 80s, earlier periods. And that was something that was just born out of social media, instant access to cameras, instant access to phones in your pocket. It really, for me, and this is me as a storyteller, it just kind of kills it. When I was really young and growing up, I didn't know anybody with a cell phone. Didn't know anyone with a cell phone. It wasn't that common. Did not know anybody. That stuck with me. The unknown of it. When the internet was in its infancy, and you couldn't just search up and find anything, and you couldn't go online and you meet a girl at the mall and she tells you she has her OnlyFans. Like it wasn't like that. And a lot of my stories are therefore, anything set on Earth in the real world usually ends up being set at a very specific time before all of this, because that's just more interesting to me. It's a better flow. My science fiction stuff goes all over the place. Really hard sci-fi, very focused, no aliens, and then other stories that have aliens, but it's all together, and then I've pulled from it. Right, so like I got 89 Instrument of Destruction from and legitimately several different sci-fi concepts that I wrote about on like, here's an idea, and here's inner demon, and here's what inner demon could be, but then what if we paired it with this kind of galaxy hopping like weird mystery thing, and oh, I once wrote about a weird space plague. What if we, and just kind of cobbled together, and it became 89, and that was it. And that was pieces where, okay, aliens don't fit in this story, in the 89 universe. Aliens don't really fit. Aliens don't vibe with it. So so I still have other notes where I don't know what I'm going to do with them. There's not actually a story there right now, but it's still fun, interesting things that I wrote, and I'm like, I might want to refer back to that. And then fantasy is very much, it's similar to sci-fi, except it's, in my opinion, it's easy. It's been easier for me to bring all of my fantasy stuff under one roof, right? So I had drawn, I had old maps and alphabets and things like that, and I've been able to piece them together. I've been able to piece that together into one coherent thing. A lot of that survives into the tower. I'm still trying to see if I can have a page like where I have my fictional alphabet in it and it actually look nice, and I'm having a hard time with that. But I have my, fictional alphabet, and it's like, oh, hey, that works. That actually works in this fantasy world, and that's cool, and I wanted to use it. And then, like, here's some locations and little maps and details. And I'm like, all that fits. That doesn't conflict with anything. And then, of course, with fantasy, you have humans and elves and dwarves. And all of that was able to be brought in. I just added my own, I wrote about elves. And I'm like, that doesn't conflict with what I wrote about the history of man. So we can bring that together. And then I have dwarves. That doesn't really, conflict. I can put that in the same story. And then I have orcs and goblins, which are, separate races in what I'm writing. And it worked. I was able to go, actually, no, the orcs would fit. And then I was like, and so would the goblins. They would fit too. I could do that. And I have trolls and notes on werewolves. And I have a really big backstory on werewolves that I'm really excited about. And I'm like, it works. It doesn't conflict. And I just kind of keep writing. So it's ended up being very serendipitous going through all these old notes, like an archaeologist going through archives or whatever, where it's like, it doesn't conflict. Like this works in this world, and this works in this world. And so that's cool to me. That's been really fun. And a lot of that's making it into the tower. I mean, so far, like everything that I've really come across in terms of my fantasy writings is making it into the tower. It just might not be, because I'm now, I have a tower encyclopedia now that I kind of reference and refer back to. And it might not be in this book, but it's there for me to reference and go, oh, hey, I can do this little offhand reference, and maybe it'll pay off in a later book, because this isn't just going to be one book. I have tons of different story notes and objects and different things that I can write about with these characters and different cultures, because I also have my own, cultures on top of the classic tropes. I have a culture called the Armandan, which will be, are referenced in this first book. But again, we'll cross the bridge when we come to it. But it's all about that kind of exploration. And I like that exploration. I like that world building. And I like having discussions and talking about it. I love the plotting. I love the writing. I love all of this. But I really like world building. I've done it my entire life. It's just fun to make up an entire continent and just everything and fill it all out. And as of right now, the tower, what is becoming the tower, has a history that spans in current, the present day time before something happened. You'll see in the book. But I've got about 9,000 years of, oh, this happened here and this happened here. And I love stuff like that. It's fun. And I don't know how much of it's going to make it into future books, but it's all there written in it's all being gathered up into my tower encyclopedia, because it's all working. It all fits. So world building, if, however you write, whatever you do, what do you like about world building? How involved do you get in the backstory of your universe or your world or your fantasy, whatever you're writing of your epic? How involved do you get? I would love to know, and I'd love to start conversations on that. It's also something I'd like to start talking about on Twitch if anybody wants to join, and kind of start talking about story and, just kind of sit around and chat and inspire and build that up. So, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons for your encouragement and your continued support. I really do appreciate it. If you're interested in supporting the channel, again, you can follow us at a link in the description below. Our Patreon has 2 tiers available, a $3 tier and a $5 tier. Also, in the description below is a link to my debut novel, 89 Instrument of Destruction, with a cover that I am quite proud of, if I do say so myself. And finally, a link to our Discord community. An invitation awaits you in the description in the video, beneath this video. So, with all that out of the way, above all else and most importantly, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, take care of others, have a legendary day. Bye, everyone.